So, Tom, what's new and exciting in your world?
We have our first grandchild coming, so that's that's a good thing. So that just tells you I'm old. We're very excited. What's the industry? I've been through the Colorado. We had started up in Colorado. We've been in California for the last 5 years. So you think you'd learn your lessons from Colorado and California, and we get ourselves in the same situation now in Michigan with too much product and the illegal situation that's going on. So there's a lot to talk about here and learn from everybody.
Yeah, so what has been the greatest thing that you've learned and taken from your experiences? Let's just start generally, because you're an entrepreneur. Maybe a lot of people don't know this, but your background, you have a variety of businesses that you've been involved in since young 20s. Did you need another headache in the cannabis space?
My boys talked me into this, so I just saying, Vinny. So most of you don't know me, but I came through the alcohol industry. So I was born and raised in a beer family. We were the Miller distributor for west side of Detroit all the way to Toledo. So I've been through that consolidation in the alcohol industry back in the 80s and 90s. I started Native American casinos in this country back in the mid-'80s. So we were a NASDAQ public company. I had all of North America for our IGT slots. I've been through that consolidation in the gaming industry. And here we now find ourselves in the cannabis industry with the same opportunities in this country, but especially in Michigan right now with consolidation.
So let's talk about consolidation, because you opened High Life Farms, which was strictly a manufacturing company. And you had, at one point, you were the largest manufacturer here in the state of Michigan. And recently you have a special announcement that maybe you haven't made formal.
And the state hasn't made it official until next week, but I can obviously tell it. So we're coming together with Common Citizen. So High Life Farms and Common Citizen will actually officially with the state of Michigan come together next week. We were hoping it would have been this week. You could talk about it tonight more in depth. But over a year ago, Common Citizen and High Life Farms started talking. And, prices were still pretty solid a year ago. It took us a while to understand each other's culture in companies. And when we got there, we said, with what's happening in the price compression in flour and what we now know in oils, and that we need to start looking at how do companies come together and start looking at bringing the profitability back up. And that's what we've been working on for 12 months with this merger. Little did we know how serious it was going to be right now with the compression that we have in pricing. So we're excited that we're coming together now with Common Citizen. Mike Elias would have been here tonight, but from Common, but Mike came down with COVID this week, so thank God he's staying away from all of us. Yeah.
Well, we're excited about the opportunity this brings to the state and to the industry as a whole. You guys are certainly on the forefront of leadership within the industry. But talk a little bit more about consolidation. How might others benefit from your merger between Common Citizen and High Life Farms? How do you see that unfolding?
I think when we started this project, we got into manufacturing. Being from my background, I went and secured a couple of the top brands in the country, being Wana and Kiva, and started to build our company around those two brands as we built our flower brand. Little did I expect, I really didn't want to get into retail. It wasn't where the direction of the company was. But now, after talking to the investment bankers and seeing what's happening in the industry nationally, especially here in Michigan, you need to be a vertical. You don't have a choice to survive this long term. You need to be a vertical. So the Common Citizen High Life model will be to build out the vertical. We're great in flower. We're great in manufacturing. We have enough capacity and the ability to add more if we need to. But right now, we're on the hunt to bring together retail that is maybe one dimension. That's all they focused on. Like we focused on manufacturing, they only focused on retail. These companies need to start coming together right now and looking at each other and evaluating. And I know it's hard because I've sat down with so many groups that say, we're very profitable, even though there's 280E out there that makes it very hard to be profitable. But to get together and look at the long term, what it means of profitability coming together. So that's what Common Citizen and I are looking at. We can bring an extra 5-10 percentage points of profit because we are the manufacturer of these products to the retail side of the business. So, we're looking at 4 or 5 years from now. When I was a Miller distributor, Philip Morris owned Miller Brewing Company. Those people are in cannabis around the world. They're not in cannabis in the United States. Constellation Brands, they're in the wine business. We're a vineyard in Napa Valley. We've been around them enough to know.
A great vineyard, by the way. One of my favorite wines.
Thank you. But we've been around that cannabis up in Northern California for a long time also. And that's where Constellation saw this happening, coming together. So all I can say is the groups are here that are retail, or if you're only on the side like we were, manufacturing and grow, you need to start looking at the vertical to survive the downturn that we're in right now. And we're also looking at how much more cannabis legal cannabis is coming on board in the next 12 to 24 months. Rudy was a great one to ask, being in the security business up here. He knows of all these projects, but there's hundreds of thousands of square feet that are under construction now that are going to continue to come on board. They have no choice but to open up, and it's still going to drive the prices down even farther.
You talk about a downturn. I think people, at one point, their pro formas were at $4,200 a pound. In some cases, it's maybe $1,200 retail. And when you're talking about expansion, are you talking about acquisition of onesies and twosies that are out there that may be looking to get out of the business, or are you talking about growing and advancing your business with new doors and new facilities?
Coming from my background in gaming and alcohol, the public companies don't want to deal with going to a local city and working through the progress of, will I get the license or not, right? So they'll pay the price for companies that are put together, well-run, great bottom lines, audited companies that they can get their hands around right away. That's what we have created. My whole background has been in, being looked at by every auditor. I think I was licensed in like 40 states at one time in gaming. In Detroit being the worst. I ran the ref from the gaming in Detroit. I used to own Motor City Casino before all this, and it was a great run. But you lose so many of your partners because they've made a mistake in their life, and it was a minor mistake. Mm-hmm. But if you're in alcohol and gaming and somewhat cannabis, you've got an issue, and you lose partners in it. So.
Yeah, that's one of the challenging aspects, and also keeping your license. It seems like this new appointment by Brian Hanna to be our executive director for the Cannabis Regulatory Agency, it seems like he's focused on enforcement, helping to protect the value of the licenses. We'd like to see that enforcement be obviously priority number one. We'll hear from him with the Fireside chat in a little bit. But can you talk about your working relationship within the state of Michigan? I know we're disappointed a little bit that the state of Michigan fell behind. It didn't see what California and Colorado and the tea leaves that were happening there. They couldn't get advance of some rules and some legislation that maybe would put us in a better position to be in business today.
Yeah, so we got off, listen, when we did this before our governor, Whitmer, came in, we had this figured out in Lansing. I'm drawing a blank on my senator who retired, but when we knew that we didn't have enough, we were going to be first ones licensed. We know there wasn't going to be enough flower in the state. We looked at how are the caregivers going to support that system. We had it set up where the caregivers could grow their 72 plants. All they had to do was drop into metric and be tested, and if any product that they couldn't sell to their 6 or 7 patients would be in the system. That got dropped immediately, and that opened up Pandora's box to a lot of product coming through back doors, and it's a mess, and it still is a mess today. We still think over half the product in Michigan, whether it's flour, oil, or whatever, is still coming in from out state. I'm excited about our new director, who's got a focus on law enforcement. And what it's done in this state is taking our legal friends that have done it right and got licensed. They get desperate to stay alive, and legal things happen. And that's what's happening in the state. I talk to guys all the time that we're selling product to, and they're at ends meet. They got nowhere else to go. We can see it in our receivables at Highlight Farms. We were at 7 days, 15 days. Now it's creeping to 30 days. We know everybody's stretched out right now, including us. You know, if you don't get paid, it's hard to pay your people.
So in the liquor business, which is what you come from, the alcohol business, if you have an accounts receivable 30, 60 days, they might ding your license. You might get suspended.
There is no account receivable. The state of Michigan, back in the day, when we've got a boxcar of Miller beer being loaded in Milwaukee, you were EFT'd out of your account. When a customer bought liquor from you, they had to pay you on the spot. I'm not sure that's not a scenario that we're not going to have here eventually. If the Liquor Control Commission and we model cannabis after that, that could happen up the road.
What is your advice to someone that's on the outside looking to get involved in the cannabis industry? They still think they've got a great opportunity, great piece of real estate in a community that they know and that they want to serve. What advice do you have for them in terms of setting up the right business plan?
Well, you know, there's a lot of people in the room here that from different cities that have other businesses, and they're in a good position to get a license because they've been a leader in that community. There's a lot of those ones and twos that we like their locations. We'd love to talk to them because they've got to have the ability for an exit strategy. And we're trying to give that to people where it's 3-4 years up the road, if we're in a position where the Safe Banking Act passes, even Schedule 1 someday comes off, and the Philip Morris's and pharmaceuticals come into Michigan, we'd like to be in that position that they look at us first, to take over High Life Farms and Common Citizen, or we merge together and go for a longer run in other states with them.
And so for those in the room that might be thinking about leveling up and maybe rolling up into a big player like you guys, how would they contact you, or what's the next step in the process?
It's a tough process, right? I mean, the culture, a lot of people we've talked to said, you know, I don't feel like losing my business. You know, we've ran this, we're a mom and pop operation. It's important that you understand the culture of the company you're going to get together with, that they think like you, and make sure you've got great agreements that you can go along for the ride and be a part of that. Anybody we're talking to in retail, they want to stay in. They're in for the long run. And if they're a good operator, we're going to let them run those stores. We don't need to take over something that's not broke and screw it up. I mean, we try to stay out of the way. So I would say right now, just find the right partner that's got the same culture and thinks like you, and do your due diligence. That's important to me.
And so you're also open to having conversations with people about?
Absolutely. Whether it's we're going to acquire or I can mentor and help you find the right company, the right size that you would fit with, is important to us. Because we sell the most dispensaries in the state of Michigan with High Life Farms, so we've got a lot of relationships and a lot of conversations going on right now because everybody's hurt pretty bad.
Yeah, well, we hope that gets a chance to change with the Executive Director, Brian Hanna, being in place. I think that it's been a great addition thus far.
Oh, we're all excited about Brian getting that directorship official. Yes.
Absolutely. Well, Tom, I don't want to keep you. I just wanted a few minutes of your time.
No, I want to stay for an hour.
Okay.
So,
Any further advice? I mean, you're one of the leading entrepreneurs in the state, arguably in our country. I mean, hearing from you has been incredible to understand a little bit more about your sense of the industry and why you're so excited about it.
Well, every industry goes through this. I mean, there's a lot of veterans in this room from other industries. Everybody goes through overbuilt, whether it could be home builders or whatever. You've got to stay in the game and get through this. I think we'll be through it, a big part of it, maybe by the end of next year, but it's surely in 4. We got to get through it, but you got to hang in there. You know, you build a budget for your company, and it's one of these, we're in the industry right now where you need to look at it every month because the industry's changing every day. Pricing, who's in business, who's coming together. So I say you should look at your business plans and evaluate them all the time with your team because things are changing so quick.
What about for those that are, just on the introductory part of the business, right? One store, one operation. They're really fighting to get through right now. I mean, this has got to be the most challenging it has been or ever will be, right? We've got to go up from here.
Right. So I would say make sure you keep some powder dry because, it's easy to burn through a lot of money in this business. And you get to you hit your wall, and then you got to turn to lenders that are gouging at 15% and that. Try to keep your powder dry where you can live through this with your own money and not have to go out to the sharks.
Is part of your growth strategy also looking into other states with the High Life brand? I mean, I know Colorado and California. Outside of this market here in Michigan, are you looking into the Midwest and other areas?
Yeah, we've been on the East Coast looking, and they've already got their problems in New York City and New Jersey and that. We get asked to come in. We were just in Kansas the other day talking to the Senate committee about, don't make the same mistakes Michigan. That's what we get. We go there and they go, how'd you guys screw this up? Well, then we go through it because there's no reason for another state to do this. Michigan should have never got into the situation. We've been through it in other states. We should have never got ourselves where we're at today.
And I know you're in D.C. often meeting with our congressional leaders talking about this subject. Are we going to see any activity here in Lame Duck next few weeks?
Well, definitely not in Michigan. I've been meeting in Lansing over the last couple weeks, and that's not going, and nothing's going to happen. But I can tell you this, that I think we're going to see some great activity in the first quarter with the new Senate and the House, and they're excited about getting this industry straightened out and on the right path. So we're going to continue to work with the Senate and the House on both sides of the aisle and get some legislation done to help the whole industry here get on stable ground.
And finally, there are some people in the room that would like to add value to you and to your business. So what's the best way that they can do that?
Well, we'd appreciate you supporting High Life Farms and the Common Citizen Partnership. We're here for the long haul, and we're also here to help people. So if we're looking to come together with a large company that's got a large vision, we'd love to talk to you. If you just want to bounce things off me as a mentorship, I'm happy to do that at my old age. So,
well, we definitely appreciate that. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Celani, President and CEO of High Life Farms. Thank you.